is the Sinai wilderness. This is Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, where the Ten Commandments will be given. And just as Moses ascends this mountain, and the whole mountain is aflame with fire and pyrotechnics, bursting like a storm, so now we get a little foretaste of that with this fiery burning bush, the fire being the numinous presence of God, the mysterium that draws us in. Moses had to turn aside and see this sight, but also dreadful, dangerous, tremendous. It can repel us and even kill us. Moses hid his face. He was afraid to die from looking at God. But God speaks. Doesn't appear in a visual form. It's that auditory revelation that is most intimate, most personal, the fiery intimacy of God. This bush is pretty interesting in a number of ways. God calls it the sign by which Moses will know that he really has been sent by this other, the one beyond all creation who has created everything, even Moses' mouth, which Moses claims doesn't speak well. This nature of the bush as a sign has tripped up a lot of interpreters and even many translations. If you look at Exodus 3, verse 12, God identifies the bush as the sign that God's self, is sending Moses. Some interpreters think, oh, the sign must be later on, when everyone camps around the mountain and sees the Ten Commandments coming down from the fire. That will be the sign. Well, that's too late to be a good sign to reassure Moses. No, there should be no colon in the middle of verse 12, as the NRSV puts it there. Hebrew has no colons. The sign is not that Israel will travel to this mountain. The sign is the burning bush. So why does the burning bush appear at the very beginning of the story? Simply because the Bible has played with the typical form, the typical genre of the sign presentation in a commissioning, moving it a little bit earlier in the story so that it catches Moses' eye and draws him into the story. A very clever rhetorical flourish. There's a lot more cleverness about this passage. The divine name is revealed in verse 14 as another way to reassure Moses that he has a way to go to his people and say who it is that has sent him. The God who is beyond all that we know in our world and yet is intimate with us. I think Everett Fox in the Shokin Bible has translated this well. God said to Moses, Eya Asher Eya, I will be there, howsoever I will be there. Notice the verb is repeated twice, Eya Asher Eya. The main verb is Eya, but it's repeated twice in a special syntax, an item per item construction. An item per item construction means that this identification is without restriction. God is always I am, or I am there for you, however God wants that to be. In fact, God defines what it means to be an Eya, to be there for you. People have struggled with the meaning of Eya. It's the verb haya, to happen, to occur, to be there. Hebrew has a set of concrete meanings, usually not abstract. It's not being itself, as the Septuagint will have it. Just reading a few verses earlier in verse 12, God said, indeed, Eya, I will be there with you. Right within that context, God identifies the meaning. So God is not abstract being in this passage, but God is the one who's there for us, who does things with us in mind. That intimacy, that longing for relationship, signified by the fiery magnetism, drawing us in like moths to a flame.